Hello and namaste, Youngistan. This is Karan Rana. Welcome to the One Life show. And today we have two really interesting guests with us, Saloni Malhotra and Astha Ahluwalia. Welcome to the show, Saloni and Astha. How are you?
Good, thank you for having us.
Okay, so I can't even say that ladies first because there are already two ladies. So whatever questions we throw, feel free to take turns. Why don't we begin with a very simple, general 1 minute introduction to Saloni and Astha first, you. And so that we just get to know about your personal and professional journey up till now. And then we'll definitely get into some personal growth stuff and how you have written a book and how that can help the janta out there. Who would like to go first, please?
Hi, Karan and Karan's viewers. I am Astha Ahluwalia. By profession, I'm a psychologist. I'm a practicing therapist. And along with Saloni, we run this beautiful labor of love, affection, and empathy called Reboot Wellness. We're based out of Gurgaon, but we have a presence in 12 different countries. We are a mental health organization, and our aim has been so far to make mental health available, accessible, and most importantly, affordable for everyone. I'm born and raised in Delhi, educated mostly in Delhi, a bit abroad, and have been working here for the last 16, 17 years now. And yeah, really happy to be here talking to you.
Awesome. Sounds really exciting. I will be asking a lot of silly and stupid questions when it comes to mental health. So please feel free to bash
There
me
is no
because
silly to
I
mental
need
health.
a lot of, which is I need to be matured to come up to the fact that, okay, what all things can we learn from you, especially of all life stages and ages. But yeah, before that, Saloni.
Hi, Karan and Karan's viewers. I'm Saloni, and I am an entrepreneur. I've started two companies, Reboot being one of them, and I've had the pleasure of working with Karan once at Paytm. That's a little bit about me. And Kasta said we run this little place in Gurgaon, but we have clients from all over the world because therapy is a place which is personal. You need to connect with the right person. And that is what we're special at. We find you the right therapist so that you never have to say the therapy doesn't work for me.
Awesome. So may I ask that where did you two guys meet? Because you, Saloni, have self-identified yourself as an entrepreneur first, yeah? And Astha is pure play psychology. So what's the bridge there between the two of you and how did this come about?
We met online. I was looking to start Reboot. I just opened doors and we needed a full-time psychologist. We had few part-time people, but we wanted to bring someone full-time. And I was searching. I went and met her. She came, saw our place, and that's it. We've been together for 7 years running this place.
It was love at first sight.
This
Had
sounds
to
like
work together.
this is the
We knew
Yahoo
we had to
Messenger.
work.
The Yahoo Messenger chat room. I am sure that 18-year-old kids do not know what a Yahoo Messenger chat room looked like. Strangers used to come and ask ASL, age, sex, location, and then they used to chat. So yeah, it sounds like a love story there.
Yeah,
It is. And Reboot is our labor of love.
we're 7 years old. We've done 8 this year.
Okay.
It started because of 2, 3 different things. I think I'd taken one of my teams out at Paytm for a team meet. We'd gone out for dinner. We were about 15, 16 of us. And when we ended the evening, it was in Hoska's village in the parking lot. I saw young kids sprawled in the parking lot, drunk out of their brains, sprawled on the floor in the parking lot. And I saw it and I was like, we are not acknowledging how quickly our world has changed around us. When we were growing up, our parents would actually, when they were getting someone married, they would say, ladka pita hai, ladki to piti nahi.
Right.
Or if you look at little things, like when our parents went to somebody's house on a Sunday or a weekend or whatever, they would take fruits or they would take sweets. We started taking alcohol. The younger kids are taking lots of other substances. So
Yes.
life is changing. And with all of this, it is a no-brainer that mental health issues will increase.
Correct.
But having gone through and seen that experience, it was also very difficult to find good therapists. So one answer was create a platform, but platforms don't help as much as there are lots of other tools. So that's how the whole story of Reboot began. And how do you help people find the right therapist for themselves?
And how do we actually go about, if I'm asked at Reboot, for example, if I'm a potential client, how do I go about finding the right fit for me?
So on our website, we have a bunch of professionals listed. We ask you like a bunch of questions, basis which we recommend a particular person. Or you can book a 30-minute intro call. And in the intro call, one of our psychologists will understand what your key concern is. And basis that, what your ailment is, what your age is, which region you're coming from, what language you want, what your lifestyle is. Basis that, we'll recommend the specialist who's trained best for that segment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much the procedure. But I think, like what Saloni said earlier, finding the right therapist is so important. It's like having the right fit genes. Otherwise, you won't look good. A therapist needs to know you, your world, and the qualifications, the clinical qualifications that a therapist needs, the lifestyle understanding and cultural understanding is also of key importance. And the vibe, as they call it, needs to match. And that's a very interesting process when it comes to seeking mental health services. It can either make or break your experience. And we're trying to bridge those gaps as effectively as we can with some of these activities and opportunities to connect with good therapists.
Makes sense. Would you want to educate Asthami on the difference between psychology and therapy, if there is? Because this is a very often, I think, misused. Interchangeably, we use these terms, and I'll tell you where I'm coming from. For me, as a marketeer, I think marketing should be definitely changed to the subject of psychology, because it's all about psychology, understanding a user and taking it to, selling a product. That's the marketing side of psychology. But when it comes to the therapy side of psychology, like, what's the difference? Where does it begin and where does therapy start?
So, psychology is the umbrella term, which is the scientific study of the mind and the human behavior, right? It includes a huge variety of concepts like, cognitive, which is the mental psychology, social psychology, neuropsychology, even the psychology of marketing, industries, etc., etc. And therapy is a form of treatment, which basically, again, is very scientific in nature, which allows us to pragmatically help people relieve emotional distress, improve their mental health, help them cope with life changes and challenges and things like that. So therapy is a treatment, psychology is a study. All therapists are usually psychologists as well, because they have a background in the scientific study of psychology, but they definitely need to have some degrees in therapy and clinical practice as well, or counseling as they call it.
But I think, Karan, the more important difference that people often ask for, right, is what is the difference between psychiatry and psychology?
Yeah, that as well, please.
That is a common, very common question that comes to the practice. And a lot of times
more
people
about that
feel
as
like,
well.
so a psychiatrist is a doctor who has an MBBS degree and will give you medication, right?
Okay.
And a therapist has a understanding of the brain and the mind and how the mind functions, and will, like Astha puts it very beautifully, will give you a raincoat so that you can go and enjoy the rain. The medication will fix you and the symptom, but the psychologist will fix the root cause of why that issue keeps coming up. Astha,
I don't
you
think
put it
psychiatry
much
can
more.
work without without therapy, because therapy allows you to build tools that will help you deal with life better. Psychiatry will aid in reducing the symptoms that are stopping you from living a healthy life. So if my anxiety is coming in the way of me being able to live my life, the medicine will reduce the level of anxiety, but therapy would help me manage and understand my life and my life circumstances, my life goals, my choices, etc. better. So it's more like the software tool development that therapy does. And the analogy that Saloni was saying is, imagine getting wet in the rain and catching a cold after that. So you can bring the person out, give them the medicine so that the cold goes down, but then it's still raining outside. So therapy gives you a raincoat that allows you to walk around in the rain while you're protected.
Can I say it's stage 1, stage 2, sequential, or it's simultaneous as well? That, okay, if I do
It has
not
to be
want to
simultaneous.
reach the stage of, okay, because I catch a cold, then I have to get relief. But maybe you're teaching me that, okay, how to not catch a cold in the first place. So that is
also
the
a goal.
logical thing I am stage wise. But I think it happens simultaneous as well. That, okay, if at all you have given me a medicine to tone down my anxiety, but still the life circumstances are very much the same. So I need to build the right mindset as well. कि अच्छा handle कैसे करना है.
But in a lot of cases, you will not need medication at all. You can just learn new life skills with therapy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talking of life skills and the tools of psychology, Astha, especially for you, there are these concepts that, okay, limiting beliefs are a personal narrative that we keep telling us while growing up in our socially conditioned middle class Indian Delhi childhood. Said, okay, ये कर सकते हैं, वो नहीं कर सकते हैं, be it financially or based on our gender or based on our professional trajectory कि अच्छा मैं business नहीं कर सकता, मुझे job ही करनी है, या मैं इस तरह का नहीं दिख सकता, मैं इस तरह का ही दिख सकता हूँ. So in the field of psychology, would you like to shed some light on it, ki how to fix our own limiting beliefs? Because that is, I think, closely on the lines of also the book Flip the Story, the stories that we tell ourselves. So could you tell me something about that, the limiting beliefs per se?
So limiting beliefs are a part of every mind's growth journey, right? The reason why all of us have limiting beliefs is because at some point of time, those beliefs helped us feel safer and better, right? Anything that the human mind or the human brain does is for our safety. That's the bottom line. So it's not that the limiting beliefs are those devils in our heads which don't allow us to do anything. But what happens is that they soon become assumptions which we rely on to make any life decisions. And one of the most common limiting belief that I have observed over the years with people is I'm not good enough. It is such a deeply held belief system. And a lot of that comes from the socio-political environment that most of us grow up in. The capitalist setups that we call life and the world, where we are told that unless you are good at something, whether it's school or college or work or whatever, you're not good enough. So depending on our childhood experiences, our cultural and societal messaging, the traumas, the failures, and the life experiences that we have had growing up, we develop these assumptions that basically tell us or shape the way we live our adult life, and often sabotage the life goals and relationships and other things that we want to do or achieve in our life. How to challenge them? The first step is to identify them. It all begins with awareness, to be aware that I have such a belief. The fact that I am telling myself this, and I often tell a lot of my clients that when you're in an uncomfortable situation, try and observe what you're thinking at that time. What is it that you're telling yourself? And that's what our book essentially is about, that how can we change our narrative so that we can transform our own life? So first is to identify the belief, the thought that is holding me back, or the thought that I'm constantly, repeatedly telling my own self, right? Then is to ask myself, is this true? Whatever I'm thinking, is there any reality basis to this? And then we can choose to reframe it. We can choose to flip the story in our mind. Because most often they're not their assumptions, they're not the reality. And it's only when we challenge them, when we identify them and challenge them, do we realize our own capacity and capability. And that's exactly what Saloni and I have been trying to bring out through our book, through different emotions. We picked up a lot of different emotions and we've tried to flip their narratives through stories. And because human mind thinks in stories, we all think in stories. Everything is a big, nice story in our mind. We like the drama.
Yeah.
So we've picked up many such emotions, many such feelings, 14 of them, 14 pairs that have, that we've helped people to understand that you can flip them. So if you're feeling angry, you can go from angry to being curious. Usually they say that agar aapko gussa aa raha hai, if you're angry, then you should, the flip of that is to calm down. But then when you're angry, all emotions are real, whatever you're feeling, you can't change that. But you can flip it. You can change the way you talk to yourself in your mind. Once you change that, your emotion changes, your feeling changes, the way you relate to the world changes, the way you relate to your own self changes.
Can you spill some beans, Saloni and Astha, how to flip the story? For example, when you said that, okay, I'm not good enough, typical imposter syndrome, which is a very common thing, be it professionally or personally. I might think that, okay, I'm not a 1 million YouTuber. I'm not going to be a CXO for that matter. So all these imposter syndromes are there at whatever levels. While there are some people that, okay, who might self-identify themselves on a confidence meter as a 7 or 8 on 10, which is really great. They have an imposter syndrome that, okay, I'll not make it to be a 10 on 10. While there are some people who are really feeling in the minus 1 to 10 of the entire spectrum and they need to come at least to the neutral. But imposter syndrome में वो कैसे identify करेंगे कि अच्छा a lot of many people might not even know कि करण जो तो सोच रहा है वो limiting belief है. किसने कहा तुझे कि तू ये नहीं कर सकता है? How can it help? Any techniques or practical frameworks that you have covered in the book, perhaps that you would like to give us away for free?
Sure. Saloni, would you like to go first and then I'll get to it?
Karan, the way we built it and the way I often think about it myself, Astha was saying you have to pause and understand what is it, what is the emotion. First, you have to identify that to accept it. Imposter syndrome can come from overthinking, it can come from lack of capability. Both.
Correct.
So
Correct.
the person who says, I want to be the 1 million YouTuber, right? But I can't be, you have to pause and you have to identify what are the 5 steps that I need to take. Do I want to take those steps? Do I not want to take those steps? Maybe I don't want to take those steps, right? For example, there is a certain risk that comes, right? All of us know that we are doing jobs and we are doing content creation. अब कोई
Correct.
full time content creation करके पैसे बनाना चाहता है, नहीं बन रहे, then you have to look at your reality and fix that. So pausing to identify and acknowledge what really is going on, like Astha was saying, is really step one in most things. And that is why the chapters in the book are also built in a way where you don't have to read the whole book together. That
Correct.
emotion that you're getting stuck on, where you're identifying most with, just pick that and there's a framework for that. So like for overthinking, I'm saying the framework is pause. Pause and acknowledge, pause and take action, pause and talk to someone, pause and just sit and appreciate and reflect, right? But pause. Pause is the framework for overthinking. Like for anger, there is curiosity. For loneliness, there is being vulnerable, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. That's how it rolls. But you have to first identify the emotion that you want to address.
Yeah. Before I go on to Astha again, there are a lot of tangents that Saloni has given me for this. First of all, how to even identify the emotions. Many people suck at it for all the right and wrong reasons. That okay, many a times I myself and in my family and in my friend circle, they won't even know कि bro तुझे इस वक्त बहुत गुस्सा आ रहा है. They don't know that they are being angry at the moment. Many a times, my friend or me for that matter, we won't think and pause like कि अच्छा तू जो फील कर रहा है उसे बस जॉब इनसिक्योरिटी करते हैं आज इसको अलग से सॉल्व करते हैं कि why are you feeling this. So how to in the first place, because there are many layers to it. I might not even know that the spectrum of emotions that a human can feel because I haven't labeled them yet कि अच्छा इस feeling को, especially if it's happening for the very first time in my life कि इसको ये कहते हैं. So any help there from your experience or from the book or from Reboot Wellness programs that really helps?
So there is a little, I don't know if you can see it. It's an emotion wheel.
Yeah.
This is all of the different emotions that we feel, and they're connected in a bunch. So you may not know or identify the name of the emotion, but you know what that feeling is. And from that emotion wheel, you can actually identify this is what is really happening with me.
So is it like a personality test that, okay, are you feeling like this? And then maybe it's a yes or no. And then I can converge ki, acha, maybe this book is teaching, this is the feeling I'm feeling. And then it goes on to kaise tackle karna hai.
But
I think I'm going to take a little step back to answer Karan's question. That, like, how do I even know what I'm feeling like? Because we are from a mental health space, so we talk about these things very regularly. But I tell you, for anybody, talking or expressing in any way helps. All of our imperfections, negative belief systems, all of these things thrive in silence. So the first step for anybody is to express. Now, expression can happen in multiple ways, right? You can talk to a friend about whatever is going on in your life, which is why social connections are extremely important for human beings to survive. We are social beings. Journaling is a great tool. Sometimes even reading is a way of just getting it's a way of contemplating, thinking, reflecting, having a conversation with people, watching certain kind of content, or which a lot of people are doing these days, or certain kind of cinema or media. These are some very basic ways of getting in touch with your own self. But the intention has to be that I want to know myself. That curiosity has to be there. Of course, there are so many psychological tests and assessments and tools that we use as practitioners to help you tell you about yourself. And people, there's so much available online as well these days. So the step one is to break the silence and talk about yourself. to talk about whatever is going on in your life, not as a complaint, not as an explosive sharing, but just having conversation, communication. That's a good place to begin, because that's when we first start recognizing the inner voice, the voice that is there inside of us, whether it's an imposter or not. And coming back to the imposter syndrome or imposter voices, they rest on, this need for seeking approval. This tick that we all need, that blue tick that you have, or we all need it. And people say that validation is wrong. Validation is important. The fact that I'm living and breathing, I need validation for it. The fact that I'm doing something, I need validation for it. But if I'm relying too much on that validation, it becomes unhealthy for me. So perfectionism or the need for being exclusive is understandable, because it comes from a need for trying to earn that approval. However, to flip the story, what we need to do is we need to appreciate the journey that we're on. We're never going to reach that destination. There'll always be 10 steps ahead of us. So it is about recognizing that my imposter voice is coming from my need to be great, which is what is going to push me. It's also my motivating voice. I won't feel motivated if I don't have that voice inside me to do anything. So I need to understand and recognize that voice is important for me to move ahead in this journey, but I need to appreciate the journey that I'm on. So progress is the flip to imposter or perfectionism. Progress, appreciate the journey that you're on.
Great.
And
any other self-reflection tools?
Because imposter is so real. It is so real. One question that I often ask my clients to reflect on is that, are there any lessons that you would want to take away from what is happening to you? Learn. Whatever is happening with me, is there anything that I'm learning from it? So when and that's what you say, having a fixed mindset versus having a growth mindset. This is a growth mindset, which is a progressive mindset, which recognizes that I'm black, blue, yellow, pink, purple, everything. So I'm not just black or white, which is what imposter voice is. So if I've done one thing wrong, that means I'm wrong. No, you're not. You're everything. You're all colors. But the journey that you're on, what are you learning from it?
Correct. Any other self-reflection tools? Like journaling is definitely one. Unfortunately, I have been doing a lot of, which I got to know after 10 years. That okay, ये जो मैं mind maps बनाता रहता हूँ, doodling करके कि मेरे मन में क्या चल रहा है. It is a form of microtherapy that okay, whenever my mind is clouded, I just slap those thoughts on my piece of paper. And the moment there's clarity, then I don't even need to solve them, because who needs to solve at the moment? I just needed to put my things to clarity. Any other self-reflection tools? Personality test is one. Journaling is definitely the second one. How to
Art.
Art.
As in draw, paint, write, dance, all sorts of performing and non-performing art forms are great tools for expression and understanding.
Understanding as well.
See, yes, because the brain understands body movement the quickest. If I really want to get my brain active and I really want to know what's going on with me, I need to start moving.
And I do feel that there's a lot of catharsis there.
There is, and that's the starting point, right? That's why I said break the silence. You can break the silence by multiple things. By dancing, I often, just to share a bit of personal anecdote there, my work is extremely emotionally draining. So a lot of times in the morning when I'm tired, I often catch myself putting on loud music before I go to work and dancing. It just helps me release a lot of the emotion that I'm carrying from the previous day and allows me to create space for what is going to come during the day. So art and forms of art are great tools for catharsis, for reflection, for understanding, everything.
So, Astha, we were talking about imposter syndromes and various self-reflection tools. Especially on that, I would like to mention that when you said art can also be a form of self-identification of emotions. I have this guitar. Many times when I play this, sometimes it happened that once in every 2-3 months, after 30 minutes of banging the guitar, suddenly I would start weeping. I don't know why I had that kind of an experience. And my brother is a filmmaker, and I have a lot of voice therapists and singers who are there in my circuit. They told me that, bro, what you just experienced now, it's called catharsis. मैंने कहा ये क्या word है भाई, कितना tough word है ये. And they said कि तुझे थोड़ा light feel हो रहा है, एकदम light. मैंने कहा हाँ बिल्कुल light सा feel हो रहा है, जैसे mental load हटा हुआ 5 kg off हो गया. They said हाँ इसे catharsis ही बोलते हैं. कुछ होगा repressed suppressed emotions या जो वो outlet में release हो. And I said, yeah, whatever you're saying, I feel that. But I don't know if what label was that to the emotion in the wheel. Was it anger? Was it something? So could you please deep dive a little more into the art side of things? Because a lot of people who listen to this are also creators slash artists. How will art help me identify maybe some emotions that I am very conveniently brushing under the carpet?
I think art is such a beautiful medium, and any form of art, whether it's singing or playing an instrument or drawing or painting or any form of art, is a great tool to connect with your own self. And when we start connecting with our own selves, it's so important for us to break that silence and express, because it's only when we are doing that are we really truly connecting with our own selves. And all of us, every living human being needs to have that connection with self, that I matter. At a psychological level, it's such an important feeling to have. And these are tools and mediums that we use to feel connected with our own self. Life goes on and we live very mindlessly through our day to day lives. We have certain chores that we have to do, we have responsibilities that we have to fulfill, especially as adults. And life is going on, life is not stopping or pausing. These moments of art, of expression, of catharsis, whatever word you may use to describe it, are essentially moments when we are truly, genuinely connecting with parts of ourselves which otherwise are not attended to. It's like how once in a while we all go to a spa, right? And get the parts massaged which otherwise are not, right? This and that. And I think music is such a beautiful way of doing this. Because in that moment, when you are crying, you are actually internally at a psychological level, at a subconscious level, you are connecting with things that you've pushed back or blocked or left behind, not in your conscious mind. The logical mind, there's no logical explanation. And what you said that you didn't know what emotion it was, you don't need to know. We don't need to know everything. Absolutely. We don't need to know everything.
Also, I think, Karan, back in the day, and a lot of these activities were ingrained in our day to day. Like we did a lot more with our hands. We lived a very different kind of life. Even in our own childhood, we would recall if there was a power cut, you would sit with your siblings and you would just banter for nothing. You would play different kind of pranks. You would go out and play with the mud. People would knit. People would crochet. It was like one in the family knew something which was different. But now we're not using our senses as much. We're just consuming a lot of content. But we're not using our senses to create as much.
Completely hear you.
And that creation is a very important process. Creation doesn't mean that someone has to consume it. And that's why when we wrote the book also, it was more for us. We wanted to create it for ourselves. And you will see that a lot if you come to our office, that a lot of the work is we enjoy creating it more than who's consuming it.
So is this a book that you guys wrote for yourself? Like someone who should have told this to you 15 years back? Is it that for that version of Saloni and Astha?
It's a version that we have put together. Both Saloni and I are talkers, right? So we talk a lot to each other, to our team, to the people that we meet. A lot of these books are stories that we've heard, shared, experienced. And all of this book is a discussion and different parts of our discussions that we've had over a period of these 8 years with each other, with other people. It's not a self-help book per se, but it is a book that is conversation. It's talking to you. It's making you think, it's making you reflect, it's making you ask questions to your own self, using stories that we have either experienced or heard or seen or witnessed. And this is our creative expression. Because I tell you something else about creative expression, right? Creative expression is also a very safe emotional discharge. It is a way to a safe space that we create for our own selves to explore the things that are meaningful to me. So I think all of the things that Saloni and I have written here hold a lot of meaning for us. And while we were writing it, we were processing it also. We were thinking about it, we were talking about it. We always say this, that finish, close everything else. Both of us and two of our team members went to Goa for a week, locked ourselves up during monsoon. So it was beautiful out there. We were staying in Goa. We locked ourselves up where we would sit with our laptops, share, discuss, and finish the book in about 7 days.
Great. No use of
So
AI there. It's all you.
no use of it's all us. It's
Yeah.
all us.
That was the last leg of closing.
The book was
And
always
we got
driving
stuck
it.
on a lot of emotions. I dealt with.
Because
Creativity is
articulating these
the main
emotions
way.
into words is also a task, no? Articulating very sensitive emotions on paper is also a task. Okay, how do I
Hmm.
tell this to the world?
Correct.
It's a process making, meaning making journey. Any art expression. So when you're sitting and playing your guitar, you're making meaning of the tunes that are coming from inside of you. You're connecting with your own self and you're reframing your own experience through that art form. Whether it's writing or playing a drum or a guitar or singing or expressing, that's what you're doing. And in that process, you're establishing a sense of control with your experience. That I am talking about emotions is very difficult because you tend to feel very vulnerable, naked, and helpless when
Exactly.
you are. So, art becomes a great tool to not feel that helplessness. It is the sense of control that comes with using these tools, that I am using this tool to author my own experience, whichever way
Yeah.
it may be.
Talking about struggling to express, and now a little touchy thing which I would want to be corrected on is therapists versus siblings, therapists versus parents, therapists versus friends. Because quite a lot of friends of mine currently based out of the US. Obviously, they had their own personal and family struggles, and they are currently with some therapists as well. And then I used to say, "तो मेरे साथ भी बात करना bro, हम 15 साल से दोस्त हैं." And then because there are levels of degrees of closeness that we want to open ourselves to, while a therapist might be an objective person. So what's the play there? Because many a times I used to think this, and that fortunately I have a set of parents or friends or even my brother जिनके साथ मैं एकदम naked ओके आई जस्ट स्पिट इट आउट कि छोटी लाइफ प्रॉब्लम कि आज जुकाम है, मूड अच्छा नहीं है, काम नहीं करना है, से लेके कि मेरे फैमिली में क्या चल रहा है, मेरे रिलेशनशिप्स में क्या चल रहा है, मेरे करियर में क्या चल रहा है, these are all the naked truths that I am out there with. How does one juggle this? Or also, a color to the question is also Gen Z versus millennials. That I see a lot of Gen Z population to be more open about being open to therapists. I'm 32. I might be a little farther away from them because again, my situation happens to be a little different. And people of my parents' age, they are the farthest away. That okay, ये सब कुछ नहीं है, हमसे ही बात कर लेते टाइप्स, कहाँ गया वो जमाना जब लोग खुल के शेयर कर लेते थे. Where do you see this going in the social context that there is?
They're not replacements of each other, is where I want to start. A therapist is not a replacement to your parent, to your friend, to your sibling, to people who care and love you, because they care and love you at different, that's a different level of emotional intimacy. A conversation with a therapist is a structured space that allows us to talk about things that we may feel apprehensive addressing to people who we love and care for, and vice versa. You can't replace any of these relationships with the other. Every human relationship is a part of a human experience, which is extremely important for all of us to grow and learn from. Right? Navigating discussions with our parents, with our siblings, with our friends is also a part of my own personal evolution. So I can't replace that because मैं तो ये box में बंद करके I will only go and speak to my therapist about this. No, you're talking to your therapist for a different purpose because you want an unbiased opinion or an unbiased conversation without you feeling the apprehension of something. And then the responsibility of the therapist also is to ensure that they create that sense of psychological safety for you to be able to be that vulnerable. And sometimes it's easier to have discussions with strangers than it is to have with people that you know and care for. But like I said, none of these are replacements. We are losing touch with having uncomfortable conversations with people in our personal life, which is not the healthiest thing to experience because that back and forth, that experiencing of discomfort and experiencing of different experiences are also part of human growth and learning. You can't change that. And you should not take that away from anybody. People are going to have different.
We are rawest in front of strangers because they are not going to be there to judge us 30 minutes after that conversation, which is like international vacation. That, okay, the complete stranger might know 2 things about me, which my wife does not. So what's the thing there of?
Yeah, and there are different
relationship?
parts of us, right? There are different parts of us that we want to express. And I'll just give you a practical example, or sharing actually from my own life, right? I have a very loving relationship with my parents. But I, as a child, don't give myself permission to see a certain behavior pattern of my parents as a wrong behavior pattern. It's not
Correct.
wrong, actually. It was helpful to them in their context when they were growing up, in the profession that they did, in the life that they had. But that same behavior, for me, in my current context, is not the right behavior. My mother is a surgeon
Okay.
and she's a doctor. So if she also an introvert and she had a
Hmm.
very loving family, right? Large siblings, everything. So for her to be able to miss people's birthdays and anniversaries, she would get away with it. Because when they needed her, she was a doctor, she would fix whatever it was. Now, if I'm antisocial like her, I will not have a community. I'm
Yeah.
a single person. I only have
Hmm.
one sibling. I don't have 7 siblings. So I have to be more mindful and more careful about not being a social recluse, which is a very safe and comfort zone for my mother, but it's not good for me.
Hmm.
But as a child, I will always see that my mother's doing the best thing. If she does it, it's the right thing to do. So I don't give myself permission to see anything otherwise. But this little realization and this permission to myself that I can be a different human being and have different behavior patterns than my mother was something that I could only explore in therapy. I could not have that conversation with my mother and say that, what you're doing is, because then it would be confrontation.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Because
I'm making
neither
very
can we change their context, nor she change your context as of now.
correct.
And there's no, I
Correct.
think, meeting ground for the two of your personalities then.
And it's not right or wrong. That's what you learn in therapy, that it's either helpful or unhelpful. It is not
Hmm.
black or white. It's not right or wrong. But is it helpful for you or is it unhelpful for you to continue doing that? So that's why siblings, friends, everyone is important. But at the same time, you have to look at your reality and see what you need. Sometimes you need therapy, not all the time. And like Asa beautifully puts it, there's a mental health spectrum. So when you're injured, when more than 2, 3 things have happened in your life back to back, which are
Hmm.
causing you distress, that is a good time to look at therapy, because clearly your current environment is not able to give you that fuel that, that you
Hmm.
need. If you had one small incident, I lost my job, or I had a fight with my boss, I can come back home and I can have a good time with my spouse, my siblings, my parents. I can go for a vacation, all of that. But when two,
Hmm.
3 things happen back to back, which is actually current what has happened after COVID to a lot of people,
Hmm.
right? A lot of
Yeah.
people. And I'm just saying this from people that have come to us. People have had children. AI is
Hmm.
taking jobs. They've lost someone in COVID, right? These are real things. More than two
Back
of
to
these
back.
things could have happened to you. You moved cities, right? More than two of these things have happened to you, and you don't know what happened to your world. And it's
Yeah.
slow. It's not like it's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's just
It's a
slow.
slow
It's very slow.
surfacing. Identifiably slow.
Correct.
Also, right now, the society that we're a part of, we're a very hyper stimulated society. There is
Yeah.
brains are bombarded with stimulation from all ways and all angles and all spaces, right? Whether it's the screens or the traffic or the pollution or whatever it is, there is a sensory bombardment that the human race is experiencing. The process time for the brain is not as fast as the number of things that are being bombarded onto us. The stimuli is too
Hmm.
much and the processing power is not at par. Hence, we are also seeing a shift in the way people are experiencing life.
Hmm.
So anxiety has
Hmm.
become a household term. Depression is
Yeah.
fairly common as well. I'm not
Hmm.
talking about a diagnostic disorder, but I'm just saying
Hmm.
the experience of human life has become different than what it used to be even pre-COVID. So the last
Got
5 years have seen a significant shift and change.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I always say this, we human mind needs all experiences. So we need
Hmm.
that fight with our mom and that disconnect with our sibling and that late night conversation with our best friend. We need all of it and more.
Talking of over busyness and overstimulation, because I'm party to it, and of course, we being creators, we are the ones who are throwing garbage loads of content out into the world, which people are consuming day and night. Are there any tools from a mental health perspective, maybe covered in your book or from your experiences or from your client experiences, especially for the younger lot, because they are the ones who are hooked with an attention span of 8 seconds and they're doom scrolling, as it said, that they just don't know where to
Mm.
stop midnight while scrolling Instagram. This overstimulation, is one aspect which kind of is outside their control. They are not aware of it. And one thing is also being called deliberately over busy to avoid the deeper insecurities of your life. And that can be a self-inflicted thing. Ki, "Acha, I'm just burying my head in the sand." So how do you, from a therapy perspective, help people identify to pause, कि तू जानबूझ के इधर उधर busy रह रहा है, सोच क्या चल रहा है तेरे साथ? Any tools that can help us there?
One activity that I do with a lot of my clients is we all have those apps on our phone, right? Which helps us to track that information on our phone, which helps us to track which app are we using the most.
Yeah. Screen time.
The app that you use the most is a reflection of what you actually need in your life. I'll give you an
Mm.
example for this. So if I'm spending a lot of time on WhatsApp is a tool for connecting with people, right? So I need connection. That's what I'm seeking. But unfortunately, I'm seeking it through a screen. A better idea would be to go and sit and talk to somebody, go for a coffee, go for a drink, have a meal together, right? If I'm spending maximum of my time watching shorts on YouTube, more often than not, it is an indication that I'm bored. I need mental engagement. I need a structured, exciting stimulation. I need something fun to do. Like we used to have hobbies when we were growing up. We were all encouraged to. And I remember the first question that an adult uncle or auntie would ask us would be, "अब बच्चे आपकी hobby क्या है?"
जी.
That's what our mind is seeking. If I'm spending too much time watching shorts and I'm all of that. So do this as an experiment over a period of time and see how our needs and preferences change when we are using certain apps. The app that we use the most is a reflection of what I need in my life.
So a deeper need which will get reflected in the app, find a substitute for that. Maybe through an
Find
off-screen
a
experience.
non-screen experience. Exactly. Non-screen experience
experience.
for the same thing. Yeah.
That's perfect. I never thought about that. And yeah, I'll definitely be मैं balance कर पा रहा हूँ, but I don't see, and this is like a real thing कि people will say, I'll give you an example why people are not comfortable with that thought perhaps. Even that ranges from the world of substance abuse, Saloni as well. That if you run 5 kilometers, for sure you're gonna get the dopamine and high, which is called runner's high for that matter. You can get the same amount of high through cigarettes and whatnot. But substances will be an easier fix. कि अच्छा देख मेरा shortcut देख सीधा boom. My mind is now there. While I say कि अच्छा 5 kilometers स्पोर्ट्स शू लेके दौड़ने में टास्क है भाई उसमें मेहनत लगेगा. But I'm damn sure that you'll feel the same high that you're chasing from here. So same is the case with overstimulation as well कि अभी कौन गिटार सीखे बाबा जाके. ये 4 रील स्क्रॉल करते हैं इतना ओवर स्टिमुलेशन हुआ वैकी चीजें दिख रही हैं दुनिया की. ऑब्जेक्टिव मेट स्लीप.
And all of these apps are making us even more lazier. Like a Blinkit is a classic example of it, right? It's like you Blinkit everything. You don't get up and go to that shop next to your house to actually pick things. And see, these are very intentional things that we will have to do. Right now, we have a choice. Soon it will become, before it becomes a compulsion, we should do it.
Yeah. So when people
These
come
are
to a therapist, I'm
intentional
sure
things.
that you help them actually just take that tiny step. Maybe talking to a therapist will help me bridge that again. I'll help you with a framework for journaling, and maybe this is the tool that you can have an off-screen experience with, which can help your anxiety tone down. But you are the one who has to set an intention to do it. Otherwise, I can't do it for you, right?
Correct.
Absolutely.
True. कुछ तो मेहनत हमको भी करनी पड़ेगी ना.
Correct. One of the final questions that I have in mind is related to Saloni and Astha on the social conditioning and the childhood bit of it. I've heard that in the world of therapy, usually when the diagnosis happens, a lot of things are about our childhood. That, okay, what kind of childhood experiences or adolescence experiences you had, शायद indicators or hints और वो चीजें होंगी जो अब आप surface कर रहे हो और दूसरे phase of life में बता रहे हो. Is there a grain of truth to that this technique is actually there and what I've experienced in the past is affecting how I'm thinking about my present and future, and how can I help that? Because usually we are not used to this kind of an exercise. I can't summarize my 32 years of life, right? How do you usually go about that?
Because the past is, those are the building blocks, right? Our past experiences were the setting stone for our personality, our identity, how we think, what we think. And past experiences are, so one is childhood experiences, parenting that we experienced, but it also has a lot of cultural connotation to it. So the culture that we have been a part of, or cultures that we have grown up in, all of those things at a very subconscious level shape the way we think, feel, and experience life and the way we behave and all of that, right? But here's the thing. And I know that a lot of therapy essentially was because Freud, everybody's heard of, or most of us have heard
Yeah.
of Freud, said that
Hmm.
our unconscious drives that have been picked up from our childhood experiences, which impact the way we think, feel, and experience life today, that's a reality. But I also want to add that's no longer an excuse.
Hmm.
Till the age of 25, you're allowed to use it as an excuse because your brain is still developing. I will give that to
Hmm.
anybody. Till 25,
Yeah.
after 25, you have to take the responsibility. Because
Hmm.
then you are choosing, because now your brain is developed. You know what is working for you, what is not working for you. So if you're continuing to do the things that are not working for you, then
Hmm.
you're choosing it every day. Yeah. So totally, there's a lot of truth and basis in the fact that our childhood and our past experiences shape us. They influence us, they impact us. They shape our inner conflicts and our hidden desires and everything else. But human beings are also goal driven beings. We are creative, we are goal driven, we are designed to make meaning and have a sense of belonging to our social world. And that requires a little bit of responsibility.
I can just add on a lighter note. Sometimes I'm
please.
troubling my mother and I'm telling her that all this is because of you. You didn't take care of this. तो अभी ये देखो ये हो रहा है. She just laughs and says, your warranty period is over. As I said, 25, right?
Oh,
Your
yes.
warranty period is over now. And you have
Mhm.
agency. You can change it if you want to. But if you're choosing not to change it, it's your problem. It's no longer your parents' problem.
So
Yeah.
25 is the license. Till 25, I have the license.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, but
Yeah.
one of the final questions again, final Saloni Astha, past, and this comes from the world of goal setting and vision boards and affirmations and visualizations at the intersection of mental health. Many gurus say that, of course, once you practice affirmations and visualization, I'm a big promoter, by the way. Many people in my circuit say कि Karan नहीं है ना वो 1 crore का bank balance. How can I visualize it? Because if I have to visualize that I'm becoming a CXO, I have this much and I've traveled 20 countries and my relationships are great, while currently the only memory bank from my childhood and adolescence and early adulthood years is that I have shitty relationships, I have a poor bank balance, I have a very impersonal job. So how to bridge that is also something that I didn't have an answer to because I don't know. I just said that, okay, imagine कि वो कैसा होगा and maybe take a slow step towards that. But from your technical functional expertise, I would want to hear that how can a person who is readily just rejecting this idea कि नहीं past experience में मेरे जो है अब नहीं है shitty है सब मैं कैसे करूँ आगे का how can I make that mental leap जो कि दिख ही नहीं रहा है मुझे अपने आसपास फिलहाल.
What happened in our past brought us here. However, I have the strength, the choice, and the responsibility to change it here on, right? That book that came out that became extremely popular called The Secret, right? Which spoke
Yeah.
about law of attraction and visualization and
Rhonda
gratitude.
Bryan. Yeah.
Yes. So that book, I think, addressed one part of the problem, which was that how do we we have experienced or we have built and developed certain limiting belief systems that are not allowing me to even visualize or think that I can do good. I want to, but I can't visualize it at a thought level. It doesn't stop there. So visualize, give gratitude, ask, believe, receive, affirm, all of that is great. Having said that, we can't stop there. That is just a tool for our mindset and focus. Change comes through action. Without execution, without action, nothing is going to happen. And that requires consistency, responsibility, and a lot of endurance. So that's one part of it. The second part is this.
Completely believe that. Like, I'm a karma, self-identified karma yogi. You know कि कर्म करने से होगा. And then the counter thing comes कि अच्छा अभी करना ही है तो visualization technique पे why should I spend time? I might rather just go and
Both
start doing.
both are important. It is not either or. That's the first part. That's where you have to start. You have to first identify what are the thoughts or belief systems or things that are holding you back. Then flip the story.
Yeah.
And flip it with action.
Saloni, on a lighter note, like flipping the story many times, like I talked about the spectrum, no, -10 से 0 पे कई लोगों को जरूरत है लाने की. Some people are struggling in the 0 to 1 range and they need to be brought up. This is the self-esteem and then उसके ऊपर self-confidence and all. But there's also this segment of people जो narcissists हैं, who believe that they're all rounders. Have you experienced those kind of people as well in your clientele that, okay, these people really
course.
think ये top है, इनको थोड़ा tone down करना है कि नहीं आप इतने ज़्यादा self loving मत हो. And I have seen, especially in Bollywood, it's said, and in many people, God complex, I think it's called or something like that. कि अच्छा मैं हूँ, मेरे ही around दुनिया revolve करती है.
Yeah, I think there are all shades and spectrums of people. Ultimately, you have to see what works for you. And maybe you have to be all of those people at some point in your life as well. So you just have to see, I think, what works for you and what's your reality. आराम से उसको जियो बस और खुश रहो. It's a journey. And the story that you tell yourself is the most important. So just make it a helpful story.
I want to add
Yes.
something to that
Please.
on a lighter note. Superiority and inferiority complexes are the two sides of the same coin. Both people at a core level are struggling with that imposter beliefs. Okay. It's just some are good at masking it, some are not. Somebody is crying about it and somebody is trying to compensate for it. So it's the same thing. And I have the most fun experiences talking to people who are on the superiority side of the complex. They are just they're such an entertainment to have around because it's great. And then as a therapist, I have the liberty and the opportunity to peel those layers off slowly with them. And that's a great exercise. They're the two sides of the same coin.
Do
If
you
you want
tell
to
them that
understand-
you have superiority complex? Are you unaware of this fact?
I
How
don't
do you
need to tell
convey it to them?
They usually come and
Okay.
tell me.
Okay, कि मैम मुझे लग रहा है मुझे superiority complex है.
मुझे लग नहीं रहा है, मुझे पता I'm better than everybody else.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't read somewhere that better be overconfident than underconfident because the underconfident guy did not even act. The overconfident at least went and did something.
Everybody is human. We're all dealing with our own challenges now.
If there's any message you would want to give to our audience, especially who are productivity nerds, not from a therapy mental health point of view, but from a personal growth / professional development point of view, that how they can change their mindsets, especially from the book. And of course, where can we find the book, please?
So the book is available on our website. And there are some small courses also available if people want to take those. But the book is available on the website. And just run, crawl, walk, do whatever it takes, but just keep moving. That's all I'd say. Keep moving fast, keep moving at whatever matters to you, but keep moving.
Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Astha and Saloni. It's been almost an hour.
Thank you.
And we really hope that whoever listens to this particular podcast episodes or views it on their platform of choice gets some actionable, practical movement tips and not just theoretical gyan, because that's the entire intent. And once again, thanks, Saloni. Thanks, Astha. Glad having you here.
Thank you, Karan. This was lovely. Thank you.
Okay.
A
Bye-bye.
pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.